get into it.
Also, did you know if you have
That's super loud. Oh my god.
For free with Twitch Prime, and all the proceeds go to kick cancer.
Skip this part.
By BloodThunder.
Hey, it's me.
Hey everyone.
So they don't really they tell you what they're gonna do before the run. They say we're gonna have the host read a donation or something, and then we're gonna throw to you. They don't really tell you how long of a gap there is, which is why it took me a little bit to respond. I'm like, all right, I don't know if they've technically thrown to me yet, so I'm just gonna wait here. Little minor thing. My hair is not looking good on camera. Damn, that sucks.
My name's BloodThunder. I'll be running Praise Mooncrash DLC, which came out late June. And I have a very special guest on couch if she wants to introduce herself. And
also, I told the story, I believe, on the podcast of what went down right, like literally seconds before this happened, of like just meeting Abigail on couch. If you want to hear that story, you can check it on the podcast. But super nervous because I literally just met her, didn't know if she was going to actually show up to be on couch. And I thought at this point I wasn't going to have a couch. So I was going to have to do solo commentary, and I was thinking of all the things I need to explain, because there's a lot you have to get through super early on, and then deal with it from there.
What she does?
Sure. My name is Abigail Tyson. I'm the community manager for Prey Mooncrash. I'm here to see BloodThunder do his thing.
So Bethesda's been doing a pretty long stream now, Mooncrash Mondays, where every Monday.
Oh, you can hear the nerves in my voice.
Game, about an hour, 2 hours a week, and we're gonna do it a little faster this week. So.
God, I hope so.
So we gotta load in, and then time will start there. So this is a little different than the base game of Prey. In the base game of Prey, you have a pretty linear story, and 3, 2, 1, go. So, like I said, this is a little different. In this, we have 27 different Chasma orders that we have to complete, so it's pretty non-linear.
At this point, I feel like I've kind of got to figure it out. Because I was going to like start off explaining the Chasma order stuff, which I was going to get into, and I felt like once I got kind of talking about that, I knew where I was going to go with it. Just want to see that one death. Oh, it's at the very end. It'll be a while.
We're also
nice
going inside a simulation, which is very Prey-like, where we're given 5 different characters to complete 5 different escapes and do those 27 orders across those 5 characters, and it gets a little crazy. This is the satellite, which is kind of our main area where they give us story updates, and it's pretty cool. You can play some basketball. One of my favorite things to do while waiting.
You've gotten very good at this.
Yeah, I have a lot of time.
I don't think I've made a single basket. That's fine.
I actually got really lucky with those baskets going in. I think I got 3 out of the 4. Like, usually they just bounce away, so that was just luck.
That's not embarrassing.
Also, I want to see where this toy goes, because it just, like, disappeared.
People on my streams like it.
You don't even try to.
I think someone told me it was on the operator stand.
Trying to find
Like
where the dog.
It's right there. Yep. I didn't see it up there at all. Damn.
Just went away. Well, usually, a little spoiler, but at the end of the game, you may see that toy pop up again. So we like to kind of torture it in the beginning of the run by throwing it under some water. But it just...
I didn't want to say waterboarding because it was for a charity event. I felt like if I said waterboarding, that would be not the greatest thing for him. So I just said running it under some water instead. What's up, Isaac? Thank you.
BloodThunder. I disapprove.
Well,
Kind of.
it got away. So right now it's going to give us things that we need to enter the simulation, the operator and the visor. And then after that, things get a little crazy.
I keep saying things get crazy. Also, I'm kind of in the way. Yeah, you can't see it. The donation total is at 666,000, which I was not aware of before. That's cool.
You're already going faster than we did.
Yeah, I'm sad Clint couldn't be here for this, but
Me too.
you know, he's probably playing at home. Getting some.
So I hate it that I said this because as soon as I realized, I was like, he's at work. That's why he told me he couldn't come because he's at work. And I say he's probably playing at home.
Work done.
I think he's watching and is sad that he's not here.
So anytime we go into this chair, we'll be going to a new menu, which is where we can pick our 5 characters. We're given 1 off the start. You have to unlock the other 4 through different objectives. We're just going to spam through here. So it kind of treats this first character, Andreas, as a tutorial to teach you all about the moon base that you're going into, kind of the areas and the idea of escaping. We don't do most of that, as we'll find out here in just a second. It's going to look very different.
You actually do all of that, just not the way the game wants you to.
I am so excited to see you do this.
I can hear the nervousness in my voice when I talk during the run. Like I'm not really stuttering, but I'm kind of stammering, and you can tell I'm really thinking about what I have to say next.
There we go.
I saw Clink and Abigail. I've joined the Discord, which is cool.
So now we're loading up as Andreas. We're going to pick up some fabrication plans. There we go. We're also going to get a wrench and a key card. Whoop.
Very minor thing. The reason that wheel kept popping up is because I use a mouse that has a free scroll. So it's like a normal, but then you can unlock it for free scrolling. And for whatever reason, at some point that had gotten clicked, so it was just spinning on its own, essentially. And that's why it kept popping up, because I hadn't locked it. I thought it was something to do with like the mouse drivers. And I was freaking out for a half second. I was like, oh, I just need to lock this.
And then all we have to do is get this chair to stay up on this light. It's very tricky, but there we go.
First try throw.
Nice.
Glad people clap for that.
And now we're on the moon.
What? What did you?
You're already on the moon.
It gets a little worse.
No, don't say that.
Hopefully I can line this up just right.
This whole sliding debacle, if you've watched my run since I've come back from GDQ, I don't get the best slides, but I get slides every time. Why this doesn't work here, I've yet to figure out an answer. Whether it's hardware, whether it's like FPS, which we don't believe it's FPS, no idea. But yeah, I was not too happy with this being awful.
No one in the community really knows why this works. It just kind of does. And we're thankful for that. If I can...
Yeah, me neither.
Like, even if you slide early or late, you still get a slide out of it.
Slow.
Well, you are on the moon.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but we've been here before.
You or just humanity in general?
First one, then the other.
That's fair.
It kind of worked.
I also thought I was going to soft lock there by clipping back and
It's not the
bounce,
best
which
you
would have been
can
bad.
do, but, you know, we'll take it. We got plenty of time. So this is the moon. It's pretty nice.
Is that the moon?
This part isn't. So what we're doing now is, because it treats this area like a tutorial, it's corrupted the 3 other areas besides just the main crater. So you have Pythe Slabs, Moonworks, and Crew Annex, which are all corrupted right now. But because we clipped out with the chair, we can clip into these areas that we're not supposed to get to. Right now, we're just supposed to go to the escape pod, which is about there. You can't really see it. And,
Yeah, so the part I just ran past is where the escape pod is. Normally, you'd run through the crater into that area and escape. And usually in speedruns, we just slide past this and you never see it at all.
where we're going right now is to Pythe Slabs to unlock Riley, which is another character.
Yeah, Saint up here.
And then we're going to be looking for 2 other
Popping
bodies to
in.
go pick up, which will unlock a 3rd character, VJ, and the shuttle escape, which is just another mean 60. Hey, there we are.
That's a terrifying sentence out of context. Picking up how many bodies?
Let's pray for it. Let's go around picking up bodies.
That's true.
So we're just gonna jump in here. Unfortunately, this means we also can't get out of these areas unless we clip out, which used to be a pretty big part of the route early on. But just last week, we found out something that we thought soft lock at the beginning no longer does, so we can go a little faster.
So, for people I don't know, whoop, I skipped ahead. People don't know what I was talking about there. Before, we thought you had to escape with Andrews through the escape pod. Otherwise, you would never unlock Joan, which would then soft lock the game because you just physically can't unlock the character. But then, like a week before AGDQ, I believe it was Looney who found out that if you escape by another means, you still unlock her, meaning it no longer soft locked the game, so we could start using things other than the escape pod. Let me skip forward here.
Longer does, so we can go a little faster, play things a little riskier. So at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a white bar slowly going down. That's our stamina. And if you jump, there you go. Or if you slide, you can extend how much stamina you get to use, because it won't use it up, but you get to keep the speed. So if you see me sliding a lot, it's...
Explained that very terribly. Essentially, if you slide or you jump, you never use up stamina, and it can sometimes recharge if you do it enough times in a row. So before you run out, if you just keep sliding, you can end up going a much further distance because you use less stamina over time.
It's because I don't want to run out of stamina. So all we have to do is come up here and check.
I hope they make a sequel to this game.
Tell us exactly what we need to know. So we're looking for VJ. He's in Pythis, he's down there. And then Angela's at Mooncrash.
You know, I thought I was ready for this. I wasn't. This is awesome.
So there's 96 different combinations of spawns between those two. Most of them are pretty average. There's some really bad ones, and then there's some really good ones. So we got a pretty average one. Here we're just looking for some items, mainly chipsets and fabrication plans, which allow us to then bring things into the simulation. Ooh, that's really good.
So right there, we got the control module fabrication plan, which is, there's kind of three things you want to look out for. It's control module fabrication plan, the anti-rad fabrication plan, and propulsion. If you get any of those three, that's really good luck. So control module is something that we need in the run, and we usually bring in Joan to reverse engineer it, so we always have it. This means we didn't have to get reverse engineering with Joan. We saved having to use 4 neuromods later on.
Look.
Which is really cool.
So this is Riley's office, and this is our next character we get. She's pretty cool.
She's complicated. She's got a lot going on.
Some people love her, some people hate her.
Some
Yep.
people hate her, but I think she's...
I thought I said this later in the run, but hey.
You are straight in the middle there. She's fine. I love her. I'm biased.
Scouch Person, one of the developers, she's not a developer, she's the community manager for Bethesda, meaning she interacts with the community and, sets up events. So if you watch the Mooncrash Monday streams that Bethesda put on since like the game came out, she was one of the people in charge of that. So she didn't actually physically make the game.
To get VJ. And then we're going to go over to Moonworks to pick up Angela and then over to Kranix for the escape.
But she does know about the game enough to
Trying
warrant
not
being
to
on
die
couch.
along the way. So a lot of people usually wonder what kind of difficulty we run games on. I don't know if you want to explain the corruption system in this and how it changes over time.
Yeah, so the longer you are in the simulation, the more corrupted it gets, which tracks in real life, I think. So the longer it takes for you to complete as many orders as you want to in a single run, the higher your corruption level will go. And once you get to higher levels of corruption, the enemies are harder. There are more issues in various areas of the moon. For example, things could be on fire now, or things are flooded and they are causing you issues because you suddenly cannot get to the room that you kind of thought was going to be really easy to get to. So you really want to try to go fast. In this case, very fast, but normally also very quickly because you really don't want those corruption levels to creep up on you.
Right, and we actually don't have corruption because it's still the tutorial phase. So
I think at this point is when I'm actually feeling comfortable with how like the run is going and commentary. Having her take some of that weight off and explaining corruption, so I can have a moment just like focus on what I'm doing and calm down, really helped. So that was cool, and she explained corruption extremely well. Corruption is basically the difficulty in the game, and
we're trying to get as much done as we
the longer you take, the harder it gets.
Even later on, it doesn't matter too much for us, but it's just kind of nice not to worry about it. In that room, I was scanning 2 Typhon. You eventually need to scan 5 for an order. You have to scan a Weaver at some point for Phantom Genesis 2, which is a ability that Riley needs for her escape. And then we're just gonna grab an extra while it's there. So now we're gonna go over to Moonworks and see where Angela spawns. Once again, she has 4 spawns in this area, 12, or she has 8 total. 4 here, and then 4 over in Pythias.
Yeah, so I mentioned before there's 96 combinations of spawns. I believe that's right. She has 8 possible spawn locations, 4 in Moonworks, 4 in Pythias, and then VJ also has 12. So he has 4 in Pythias, 4 in Moonworks, 4 in Koreanix. So altogether, it's 96 possible spawns.
And this is somewhat randomized. The whole game, to an extent, it's not completely randomized. If you go through a door, you know what's going to be on the other side. But what you don't know is what enemies you might get, the body spawns you might get,
The hazards.
what can be in containers. So she's actually in a really nice spot.
Yeah, this was good.
Very easy to pick up.
This is still not best luck. This is one of her better spawns across the 8 that she has. Is probably the second best.
So her body gives us...
VJ was pretty bad.
A fabrication plane for neuromods, which you use to install abilities, which we'll do here in just a minute. Right now, we're just going to go ahead and get out of here. Take the tram. And she also gives us the shuttle escape ability, which you need to use a neuromod for. So it didn't happen in this run, but even if she's in Pythias and you never have to come to Moonworks, we still do anyways here, because it's going to give us 5,000 sim points, which you just saw on the bottom left. And those sim points are very important because that is what you use to buy stuff for the next character. So if you can get a whole lot of sim points early, you can get some neuromods, just really clean up some objectives.
I'm glad I touched on that. I could have explained it a little bit better, I think. But basically everything you do inside the simulation gives you sim points, whether it's killing a Typhon, completing an order, discovering a body. It all gives you sim points. The chasm orders tend to give you higher amounts, so they're better to do early on. How long am I streaming today?
Other people play your game
for a while.
If your sim points something so they thought they needed but they don't really need, then everything's much easier for you.
Yeah, that seemed like a common problem on Mooncrash Mondays.
It was bad. The amount of times I'd come in after a Monday and someone else hosted and they'd be like, so I wasted all of your sim points. I'm like, that's not a casual thing to say to me. That's terrible.
So that was some mimic hiding, stopping the Typhon gate from opening, which Typhon gates, if there's any Typhon around, will just stay closed. And you can either EMP them to get them open, or you can kill everything. EMP is much faster. So once again, we're just kind of looking for some fabrication plans and chipsets, which we just got some good ones. At this point, we're going to go ahead and install all these neuromods, so I'm going to get the shuttle escape.
Forgot I got propulsion chipset. That was really good luck.
And because we already have 6 more neuromods, we're just going to go ahead and spend them. There's nothing we really need for Andreas. Other characters are much more...
So here, like I said, you really don't need anything because just the nature of Andreas. Nowadays, I tend to prefer to go for the 2 down here, which give you health upon damage, which really helps later on. But getting anything up here is just kind of
more important with what you bought.
An attack.
So we're going to do those and then get on out of here.
This little thing.
Well, that was faster than we did it.
So that completes about 6 objectives, depending on how the fabrications and chipsets played out. I don't think we got enough for those.
You can skip the neuromod install animation to an extent, but if you skip it the first time, you'll get it the second time. You can keep skipping it, but you still have to go through... So you skip the animation of putting it up to your eye, but when you get the synaptic brain part, you still see that every time until you go through the full animation.
Go ahead and reset the simulation, although we have other characters. And that's just because of the way it works out with how we want to complete chasm orders and people escaping at certain times. So I'm going to buy her a pistol, some ammo. We're going to buy...
So at this point, this is when control module fabrication plan comes into play. Normally you would buy 6 neuromods here to bring them in, but because we don't need to reverse engineer it, we only need to bring in 2, so we can bring in more later, so I'll have more sim points. Also, I may touch on this, but the reason you reset the simulation here is because you need to escape with Joan through the shuttle, and in each simulation you can only use a certain escape one time. So because we used it with Andreas a second ago, although there are other escapes for her to use, she needs to go through the shuttle. So that's why we actually clear it there.
There's 2 of those, I believe. I actually do have notes, which I can show off here in a second, but yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, I still have my notes.
So there's a lot of things that can change based on what you get.
It actually gets screened out.
I've routed this to be pretty safe.
That's hilarious.
I know
Well,
what I need going in with every
they're mystery
character,
notes.
but that's kind of what it looks like. And if things change, you know, you can.
Yeah, so this is the abridged version of my notes. I have 6 pages of like fully detailed, go to this place, do this thing, collect this body, escape by this means. But what I'm showing there is a single page I have where it says the character name, the character attempt, so like Andreas 1, or the second time I bring in Andreas, it'll be Andreas 2. And then it says what I need in that character. So if I need neuromods, if I need a pistol, if I need control modules, all that stuff is listed beside it. So I know exactly what to buy when.
I also have 6 pages of detailed notes, which I won't be going over. But it's a very complicated run to kind of get into, intimidating, but it's not too bad after a while.
We probably should have had notes. That's a really good idea.
So now we reset the simulation, we have to pick up the key card again. The mimics actually don't show up, so you don't need to lock that door. But we need to do this little trick again. So now you'll see the corruption in the top right. It will start ticking up the longer we're in here. Ooh. Almost fell off. Okay.
And actually, the further you get into the game, the more chasm orders you've completed, the faster that will go up over time. So not only does it just the game get harder, but the rate at which it gets harder increases, which is kind of a cool thing as well.
What?
It's so peaceful. Get some nice ambient music. There's no one around. So if you do a slide, it's usually only worthwhile to do it over to Pythias, which is what we tried to do earlier, which can get you pretty close. For the most part, it's typically faster just to run over, or if you have propulsion, you can use that. So all Joan's going to come in to do is kind of make sure that there's anti-rads somewhere on the map, because we're going to need them for VJ here in just a second for his escape. There's something else that we typically do, which I'm going to do a little bit of, but because we got the fabrication plan for control modules earlier, we really don't need to. Just going to run past that mimic.
And it was like, where are you going?
So the escape pod navigation chip, which is on that table, and the control module are hard spawned on the map. They'll be there every time, which is really nice. And typically you would reverse engineer the control module to bring in later, but we already got the fabrication plan, so we don't need to do that. Okay. So we got some bad luck there.
So do anti-rads count as a food item? No. So for the mass driver escape, it gives you 11 items you need. You need 5 things of food, 5 drinks that are non-alcoholic, and then also anti-rads. So they're their own separate thing that you need. And like in a really fast route, like if I do record attempts, you'll see me not check for anti-rads here anymore, because Joan comes in as a safety measure, essentially. Like, because trauma centers can be broken, she's the only one that can repair them. So if I come in with VJ and there's none spawned onto the map, you have to go to a trauma center, and if that happens to be broken, you can't get in it, so you can't get anti-rads. In record attempts, you would just hope that you get lucky with VJ and find them. Also, this is bad luck that the trauma center's not here.
This one's the hide. There we go. So we got bad luck, and we have to go find a trauma center. So we'll see where that is real quick.
Didn't I get it in Moonworks?
All right, so we can go to Pythias
Oh,
Labs.
Pythias, okay.
There's 4 rooms on the map, 1 in each area, which can be a different room. There's always going to be 2 trauma centers in a simulation. There's an engineering annex. I think a supply closet is the 4th. So just depending on where that is, you'll have to go either open it.
Just to clarify it, so there's 4 spots, 1 in each area, and there's 4 rooms that rotate between those spots. And there's going to be 2 trauma centers, an engineering annex, and a supply closet, and they just rotate depending on luck.
Find a key card or repair it, which is why we bring in Joanne. She has a repairing ability. Every character has kind of their own unique abilities. Andreas is more Typhon. Joan is more repairing and just being an engineer. Just gotta wait on this ramp.
Repairing and being an engineer. I mentioned their abilities, but I didn't really explain why it was special. It's a good job.
So as far as like losing time goes, this may not even be necessary because we might find random anti-rads when we come in with VJ anyways. But this is one of those things where you want to make sure you have it, especially in a marathon run, because if you don't, then your run's pretty much over.
Yeah. So if you don't find anti-rads, like I said, and the trauma center's broken, you have to reset the simulation with VJ and try again, which really wouldn't lose that much time. It's just this costs less time to double check.
No.
You don't want that.
So we'll just see where it.
I believe this is open.
Whether this is closed or if it needs a key card. Just run past all this stuff again.
Oh,
So we actually do need to repair it, which is good. So we can do that.
it's not good that I had to repair it. It's just good that I didn't have to go get a key card.
Grab the anti-rads. And we'll have to do this again a second time, but we actually need anti-rads with Joan at that point. So it really won't matter. Whoop. Those tentacle nests always scare me.
They are horrifying.
Yeah, they just chase you down for no reason. So we're actually just gonna drop these, which seems really weird, especially since we need them. But at this point, we don't have the operator, which we get pretty soon. That'll let you transfer items between characters in different runs. So we're just gonna drop them, and when we come into VJ, if we need to come get them, we can just pick them up there. So Joan's pretty much done on her first attempt. All we have to do is go to the shuttle, which is where we escaped with Andreas. And each character has their own preferred escape method, which the shuttle is hers. So this is going to unlock her story, which we'll have to come back in later and do. And just complete some more objectives.
I like the idea of characters preferring to escape the moon in specific ways.
Yes.
Like, you guys do it that way, but I'm really cool and I do it this way.
Some of them are kind of strange, but you know.
A little bit.
Once again, we're just gonna check for fabrication plans, neuromods, that kind of stuff.
So while I did appreciate having Abigail on couch and commentating, she did a great job. A lot of times I was trying to think about what I was going to explain next because there's still a lot you have to explain at this point in the run. And so anytime she would say something, I still wanted to interact with her and keep that going. But I wasn't really focusing exactly on what she was saying. So it was like, a lot of times later on, she'll ask a certain question, like, what's your favorite TV character or whatever, and my mind's completely blank at that moment.
Nothing there.
Okay. It's like I'm listening, but it's going in one ear and out the other.
Mod if we can, which can't. So at this point, we're just going to have to leave. It's going to look very familiar.
Well, again, much faster than we did. We did that maybe like 2 months after we got the first one done.
It was an entertaining journey to watch along with.
Thank goodness. Because we were just embarrassed.
It's also one of those things where if you take a break from it, you may kind of forget what you're doing. And
So I think she says this at some point, like I'm giving them outs, kind of like making them not look as bad. But it's taking a break from this where you have to know which characters you need to bring in, when, and why, and what exactly you're trying to do. Like stepping away from that and only spending an hour on it a week is actually really, really tough. Because like I played this all the way through from like start to finish in like a day. Like just kept going at it, trying to figure things out. But if you just work a little bit, especially when you don't make progress and you're still in that same spot of just spending an hour on it and then come back the next week and spending another hour on it, like, it can be really, really tough.
A little challenging.
I like how many outs you're giving me.
see.
Yes, we'll go with that.
Okay, so he actually doesn't need a whole lot. Let me go back, grab that real quick. But like I said, because we didn't have to buy extra neuromods with Joan, we can afford to bring in some extra with VJ, which allows him to get mobility 1 and just move faster, which is really nice. We also got the advanced propulsion chip, which is pretty much the only chipset we really care about in this run, because it lets you go extremely fast. It's a little crazy.
A little bit.
There's other chipsets like Beefy Boy, which give you more health. It's just like you don't ever really need more health. It's not worth buying.
So I usually actually forget to install these, which is not good. Make sure I do that. So luckily the chairs are already up here. We've seen this a lot.
It's jarring every time.
There we go. So VJ actually comes with the propulsion system, which is really nice. It'd be great if every character had it, but unfortunately they don't. If you find a propulsion fabrication plan along the way, that's a much nicer run to deal with. Makes it a lot of falls safe. There's no fall damage in the crater area, which we're in now. Once you go inside, unfortunately, that gravity causes fall damage, which...
Like I was speaking, but I didn't really know what I was saying. Which once it finally caught up, I was like, "Where am I going with this?" But in the crater area, because you're in low gravity, you don't take fall damage. But inside an area, when you're back in normal gravity, you do take fall damage. Essentially, what I was trying to say there.
leads to some pretty horrifying sounds if you end up breaking your legs.
People really didn't like that on the stream because we broke our legs a lot. And people were like,
Yeah.
"You mute?" It's like, no, you listen to the squelches. Yeah, I know it's gross.
Every time I end up doing it in a run, I have to think it's Moonshark eating some potato chips. It's the only way I get by.
I mean, yeah.
It comes true.
So even though we have anti-rads, we're going to kind of check some spawns where they can show up, just because it's a little faster to get them here. We also need 5 drinks.
Normally, we would check that green chest. I just didn't feel like going back for it because I knew I had anti-rads already, because they're guaranteed with Joan.
And we need 5 things of food.
So I just
we
left
pick
it.
Oh, there we go.
I'm having
Perfect.
terrible
Also, good luck.
flashbacks right now.
So we actually just got some anti-rads, which is really nice. Means we don't have to go over to Pythes Labs after all. We can just stay here.
Yeah, so essentially going with Joan over to the trauma center, opening it, and getting the anti-rads was a waste of time. But because it's a marathon setting, you kind of have to do that. Also, back here, Saints being on his phone, not watching my run. What a guy.
But the 3 drinks I picked up earlier are hard spawned in, which is cool. And then we're going to go over to the break room where we can get the rest of the drinks and all the food. We're going to keep kind of looting just a little bit. It's nice to get the fabrication and chipset Chasma orders out of the way, because it'll kind of change when you get certain cutscenes on the satellite, which we'll get one after this. Got a whole bunch there. Okay, so now we're ready to escape. And this is one of my least favorite escapes to do. Just
Why
because
do you say that?
mainly because you have to climb to the top.
Oh, okay.
You have to climb all the way to the top, which takes a long time, and then once you get into the animation of actually escaping, it takes a long time to do as well. It's not as long as Riley's, but it's up
I
there.
thought maybe it's for an emotional reason.
No, that might be the escape pod.
Oh, well, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
The chip legs.
So what we're doing is the mass driver escape, which is basically just a giant cannon that's going to shoot us off into space, which is great. So we actually don't really have a means of doing EMP right now, so we're just going to go through this broken window.
This isn't gonna work.
This character has one of the best out-of-context dialogues in the game.
He does.
I don't know if she actually knows what I mean by that, or if she thinks it's some other part. I'm
I don't
gonna.
know if GDQ wants me to say it, so I probably won't. But.
We're not clowns in a circus tent. Hey, what if those Harry? You cannot lose your shit on me right now.
Yeah, he's a shit on me right now. Is the
Well, we
quote?
got broken bones, which is nice.
Munch, 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 munch.
Fortunately, we don't have to
Hey, Blair.
listen to it for too long.
Your ass is home, and you're gonna kiss your wife and your kids.
So I'm just going to go ahead and put away
Gonna work out just
uh,
all right.
the food and drink, the anti-rad. Just going to go ahead and send us off into space. So once again, this is his preferred method, which is why we kind of...
Okay, I think I'll bring it next time with the controls.
But we didn't bring Joan in for a safety aspect. The reason we rushed VJ and his story is because that's the way you unlock the 5th character, which is Claire. And once you get the 5th character, this is really loud. I love watching this guy just float around.
Yeah?
I go back to my thought, or
Pulls back out into a cutscene. There we go. Just kind of gives us some more updates.
so to continue my thought, I may get back to it. I don't know, but the reason you rush to get Claire is because you're actually rushing to get the 5-man escape Chasmo order out of the way. So to do that, you have to unlock the 5th character, being Claire. In order to do that, you have to rush VJ's story. So you have to do his escape. So our goal is to, with Andreas, essentially get VJ out of the way, which is why we bring in Joan for safety to make sure he can do that. Then we come back in with them to start the 5-man escape and unlock Claire to do all that.
The more Chasmo orders you complete, the more of the story you get to listen to. We actually skipped over one with the intro, just the way we escaped. If you go through the escape pod, then you would have come back right after Andreas in the beginning.
Yep. So yeah, there aren't normally after Andreas in the tutorial section, you do get another cutscene, but for whatever reason, escaping through a different means gets you around that. I don't exactly know why. It should theoretically still give it to you, but it just doesn't. It's cool.
That you've died at this point, which hasn't really happened. So we're just gonna work out a little bit.
Also, I just like this phrase, don't let the virtual deaths get you down. I like it out of context.
Yeah. So we actually don't need to do anything here. There are cutscenes later where we have to repair certain things on the satellite, which will then kind of change the way the simulation works. Most of these kind of upgrade the simulation to be a little harder, make things a little random. And this one actually does, but it's not too bad yet. So once again, we're gonna wipe the simulation clean and bring in Joan. But this time, instead of using the anti-rads for VJ, we're gonna use her. So I actually need to bring in 7 pistols. Well, I lied. This is one of the more important characters to not forget anything with. Because at this point, we're going to go for the...
Yeah, I'll be uploading it to
We're gonna do
YouTube.
all
Blair.
5 characters' escapes in one run.
The whole thing. So I did get back to it.
To do something of this first character, and you get to the final stage, you just wasted 5 characters worth of time, which is not good. So
Oh, no, that isn't.
Yeah, if there's anything you don't want to forget in this run, it's to repair the portal with Joan. Because everything else you can sort of recover with, given a certain amount of time. But doing that, you have to do so much more of the escape all over again that you're losing like 30 minutes instantly.
It's not like anyone has done that on stream before.
this is usually the Chasmo order you go for last or near the end.
So you can't actually go for the 5-man escape last because I guess you could. It's just typically you set it up so that you do Andreas on the 5th character, and that's usually the first time you kind of escape with them. So you end up getting his story as being one of the last missions. But I guess you could do it last two.
With the way the route works at this time, it just makes sense to go for it first. And there's actually been a whole bunch of different routes. Every runner pretty much has their own way of dealing with things, which characters they want to bring in first. We're kind of getting to a point where it's not the case anymore, mainly with the stuff that was found a week ago with the soft lock. But for a long time, it's been pretty crazy to watch people run because they handle things in different ways. That's just going to roll off.
So the reason you can have different routes is based on how you deal with the beginning, whether you bring in Joan for safety or not, affects when you bring her in later. So if you don't bring her in for safety, then you push her story back because you are unlocking her story that first escape. So you do her escape in the 5-man, and then you would put her in the final sim to do her story as well, which changes things up.
That stool is being a ass.
Yeah, if only this light was a little bit wider, it wouldn't be too bad. But at this point, we're also going to check whether the tram is down, which is indicated by the red line. So it's over in Pythias, which is really good luck.
The Pythias tram being down here is the best out of the 3. If it's in Moonworks, you just lose like a minute for no good reason other than it's being down. Annex you can sort of recover from because you have to go there anyways to do her story, but it's still a little slow, and Pythias is the fastest out of the 3.
Because of the last cutscene, ooh, come back here.
You get back here.
There we go. So we're gonna try this slide again, see if we can get it. That's really cool. And actually speeds things up pretty significantly. So because of the last cutscene, the tram will start going down every time you leave the simulation and come back in. So if you go to the satellite for another cutscene, it'll go down. Or if you restart the simulation, it'll go down. All that fun stuff.
How long have you been practicing this route?
I mean, this route changed last week, but before that, it's pretty much been pretty close to this for 3 months or so.
That's nice.
I don't think that's actually true. So I was just trying to think about it on the spot. So about like 3 months ago is when I had the record at like 107 something, right before Ace took it. And then I changed this route when I came back to running it like a month and a half ago. So really the answer is a month and a half, but yeah, I just lied.
It's not one.
Our bodies never do what we want them to do.
It really doesn't want to slide today. There we go.
Oh my God.
At least I get to show it off. Took a while, but we got there.
I was actually about to just run over instead and just like forget the slide because it, like, so I don't know why it didn't want to work. So at that point I was like, all right, if it's not going to work, I'm just going to start running over it. And then luckily, like right before I did that, it worked that
You
time.
could have done that for like another 6 minutes and it would have been worth it.
I hope once we actually get a base on the moon, we can live there. We'll see people just sliding around like that a whole lot. So depending on where the tram goes down affects where you go. We got Pythias, so we can actually come over and do...
I think the last slide worked because of the way I like looked into the wall. Not because I held it for longer. Because typically when I do those slides, like whether it's late, early, or whatever, it's like the slide itself is pretty instant. So
One of the big things we need to
I don't think that's the case.
if you get Annex, you can also do her story mission first. If you get Moonworks, you're just kind of you're out of luck. You have to run through Moonworks, repair the tram, and then take it over somewhere else. But we're gonna go in and set up the 5th character's escape, which we'll get to like half an hour. One important thing I need to do, actually. So we actually got a companion. Do that.
Yes.
So this skin was added in because of the donations at AGDQ during the prey run that Lifelike did. And
That was so fun.
we usually don't get to change the operator just because it's
I can't believe this is something that you can get stuck on. There's a lot you can get stuck on in this game. I didn't think this was one of them.
some time. Also, did I just get stuck? Let's see. There we go. Woo! Unstuck.
Yo, Distant, thank you for the bits, man.
I panicked, and you did not panic at all.
Yeah, it kind of happens a lot. You can either
Really
drop
appreciate
something,
that.
which will like go underneath you and push you up, or you can kind of force close the game and reopen it, and it'll get you out. So we're gonna over repair the portal. Unfortunately, we need to come in and hack the portal. Oh, this is getting crazy. Whoop. But you can't hack the portal until you have Claire later on, which is why we're rushing her story with VJ as well. So go ahead and leave this place.
What are you talking about, Distance?
So while we're doing the setup for that, doing her story, we also need to be setting up her escape, so we need anti-rads again. We're also going to check where the escape pod is, which is Claire's escape later on. Moonworks, that's
I got
really
Moonworks.
bad luck. And then let's see, Moonworks and Koranix, okay.
So the first thing I checked was the escape pod, which is Claire's means of escaping. Ideally, you want Pythes Labs because that's just the fastest. Moonworks or Koranix, or Moonworks and Crater are like 40 seconds slower, if not a little bit more. And then I check for where the anti-rads are. As I said before, you need them with her here.
Good luck than bad luck, though, so far.
Yeah, I mean, luck.
I'm actually trying to think about that. So I feel like I've actually had some more bad luck. Mediocre body spawns. Got anti-rads. Trauma Center was in a bad place. Tram was down in a good place here, and then escape pod being Moonworks is bad. So it's kind of half and half.
Luck really doesn't matter too much in terms of those things. It just kind of cost you a minute here or there. So even though Moonworks is bad luck, that's maybe 45 seconds gone at the most. Yeah. So if you're going for a record or something like that, it can matter. But for a run like this, it really doesn't, which is great.
It's good. Takes the pressure off.
It doesn't matter when you have a stupid high estimate like I do, being an hour and 40 minutes. If this was closer to like a 125, it would absolutely matter. But
So
that's why my estimate's high.
Into her story, which she has one of the cooler animations to start her story off. I think Claire's is a little bit better, but hers is pretty good too.
Claire has the better animation. Be fair.
So because we're coming in through the tram, we can go for a trick, which is really not one I enjoy doing. It's a little finicky, but it saves some time, so we'll go for it. So Joan has the ability to summon a turret, and you can pick up that turret and move it around.
I think I actually unsummon it. That's what happens here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I tried to summon it
Rounds.
there, and it vanished.
Oh.
'Cause I accidentally hit right click.
All right, that's fine. We can just run around. Basically, it just lets you jump up a little bit earlier. So we can't actually open this door because we don't have any spare parts. We used them all to repair the portal, which is why I bring in so many guns that we can just go ahead and dismantle for spare parts. They're really cheap. That guy still wants to attack me.
Rude.
And then because I didn't jump up through the vent, the door up here might also be broken, which is why I bring in an extra 3.
So the reason you use guns is because they only cost 100 sim points each, and it's also it's an item you have consistently every single run because they give it to you off the first dead body that you find.
Usually it's not, but just in case.
Otherwise, you could use something else.
I'm just gonna gently pull it out. I don't know what it is with this game and eye stuff, but
There's a lot of eye stuff. It's true. I think it's actually gotten me over my phobia of like eye stuff. Now I'm like, it's fine. Stick a needle in there. I don't care.
yeah, contacts kind of did that for me.
Well, yes, that too.
I've gotten pretty used to touching my eye. So at this point, we're supposed to go find Brian.
That's true.
Who
I'm fine touching my eye.
turned into a phantom, and then you fight him. We're gonna do a little save. Once you kill him, you get the key card for his room, which is back here in Koranix. and then you can pick up what we need. But because this is a speed run and we like to go fast, we're going to skip going to find Brian. We're just going to go right into his room. And I'm doing this save exit because there's no saves.
Other people touching my? I mean, I don't prefer it,
this goes
but
wrong or I get stuck, I can actually kind of come back to this.
can you buy spare parts? I don't think you can buy spare parts straight out. I don't think there's ever a fabrication plan for it, if I were thinking that's right. But, I mean, essentially, if you have Joan and you have guns, you're buying spare parts, which is what we do there.
Did not work out too well.
Oh, I didn't remember this being
Fortunately,
as
objects
bad.
are a little finicky at times. Okay, there we go. And we're not done yet, but I appreciate it.
This jump right here is actually scary because if you miss it, you just go into the void. There's like a little gap right about here. It's like a long column that you can
So right over here, it's Brian's room.
fit in.
Now we need to get back in. Hey, there we go. All right. It's usually a thing I end up forgetting is I will grab that statue, which you need to repair the statue in Moonworks. But I usually end up forgetting to put it on the statue in Moonworks, which is very bad. So hopefully I don't forget it this time. Just gonna double check something.
Yeah, I've actually done it a lot where I just completely
Our Casmo
ignore
world.
the end of the quest.
We have one character to unlock the different escapes.
So this is something I usually don't spend time doing, is looking at all of these. I come down to look at fabrication plans and chipsets. Generally, if I go to the screen, that's what I'm checking. At the end, I'll check neuromods with Andreas. But because I knew I had a generous estimate, I could take the time to kind of show this off and let people look at them for longer, just to make the experience a little better and know exactly what I was doing.
The stories, which we're doing one now, and then just down here. I check that from time to time to kind of see where I am, where I'll get cutscenes. Because at this point, it does kind of affect which characters we bring in. So now we're gonna go over to Moonworks. So we're gonna get a cutscene after this point. But if we didn't, we'd bring in VJ directly after this instead of going to Riley. There's a whole bunch of those little route changes you kind of have to get familiar with. There's some more you could add in, but at that point you'd be memorizing 2 entire routes for the game, and it's really stupid real fast.
So that I also don't think is entirely true anymore of the new route, because of the way we handle Andreas and Joan. It used to be if you got lucky and found anti-rads with Andreas, you could just come in with VJ and then do Joan later, and then that would affect who you bring in when, and you'd have 2 branching paths based upon that. But I think with the route we have now, it's not true anymore. Maybe it is, I don't know.
That's our story done. Now we're gonna go do the mass driver escape, which we did with VJ earlier. So we're gonna pick up our food.
Hey, you kiddo. So even though you only need 5 food, sorry for the call. Oftentimes you'll see me pick up pretty much everything in the cabinets, because once you go into the mass driver and you start putting away the food, it's faster if you have multiples. So if you have like 3 of the noodles or whatever, it's faster to transfer that and then 2 other things instead of 5 individual items. So it's losing a little bit of time there to save a little bit when you're putting stuff away in the mass driver.
Head on up.
I'm just like completely in awe of this, to the point where I don't even realize that I'm not talking or helping you at all. I'm just gonna watch this, that's fine.
Usually I don't even realize I'm playing until I actually have to think about what I'm doing.
It's like muscle memory.
It's muscle memory and thinking like 4 steps ahead of making sure I have what I need for certain characters and not overdoing it. So unfortunately for Joan, we didn't find the propulsion system fabrication plan, so we don't have it. We're gonna have to kill some stuff.
Yeah, if you have propulsion, you just do like VJ and you go through the broken window up top. Otherwise, you have to kill phantoms here and then EMP the gate. If there's not phantoms, you can just EMP the gate and go on, but they stop the terminal from working, so you have to kill them off if they happen to be down here.
I'm actually gonna EMP past this gate.
Which is something I realized there. I was like, these are phantoms. I have to kill them, which is why I didn't just run.
The phantoms are within range of this computer, which will make it unusable. Even though we EMP past the gate, we still have to kill them off. So I've been poking my head in there because there's 2 neuromods that can potentially spawn, which are nice to get, but not really essential. So much like VJ, we're just going to head down and get an escape. But right before I leave, we're going to start using the operator. So I'm just doing this so I don't break my legs.
Again, out of context.
So we're actually just going to go ahead and drop some extra stuff. Okay, 7 and 1.
So I say 7 and 1 there, and you'll see me do that in a lot of runs. Is the first number is usually the neuromods, so I know how many I have, and then the second one is the control modules. Just so when I go to buy stuff for Riley, I can sort of remember it a little easier. So if I say it out loud, it helps me remember. It's little things like that.
I did not want to go over. So it's something that isn't really worth mentioning, but I'm sure someone that plays Prey a lot may bring it up, that I'm not using the transfer item button, which is a hotkey that you can use to transfer items between 2 menus. I use ESDF for my movement instead of WASD. So W being my interact, if I use it on that screen, it'll transfer something, but it'll also move the cursor up, which is really weird.
And it actually works in reverse of that. It moves up before it interacts with it. So if something's on the top row, I can use the interact key or the transfer key the proper way, where it just transfers the item I'm hovering over. Otherwise, it'll transfer whatever I have selected, but like the thing above it will get transferred over instead. Because for whatever reason, they never changed the key mapping to recognize that you've moved your movement keys off of W to go upwards in the menu. So if you bind that to transfer, it still has the upward command and the transfer command bound to it.
So it's,
there's your friend.
it's flying through space with me.
Just love it.
So once again, we should be pulled out of this. Yep.
Easiest. I prefer.
Cutscenes and
If you go to my Twitch panels, there's a full list. I just find it more comfortable.
it's going to
a preference thing.
shut down the power to the tram at some points, but it'll also shut down the power to an entire area.
Very sorry you're waking up to this. I have engineering here. They say not to worry. Damage to oxygen systems is minor.
We're also going to float around here for a little bit.
While they feed you sweet lies
Probably the more annoying bit at the moment.
about how okay everything is, even though you don't have oxygen.
We don't really need oxygen anymore.
It is overrated.
So one of the few times that we'll actually have to use zero gravity in this. If you've played through the base game of Prey, you may remember Guts, or the whole external of Talos 1, which is all zero gravity. This is about the only time you see that, besides the ending, which maybe even then you won't see it. So just kind of repairing the ship.
I'm really glad there's very little zero gravity in Mooncrash.
Backstory.
I don't enjoy using it. It's cool casually to an extent, but speedrunning wise, it's a nightmare.
So if you do jumps when you're crouched through there, you just go a little bit faster. You can spam through it.
Their future will be decent.
We got some nice toys here to deal with.
Modules 13, they're going to be fine.
Why are they toilet toys?
I think his facial expression just works perfectly for it. So
He doesn't already know.
something you can just play some
Yeah.
basketball.
Oh wait, also I have toilet paper for you, by the way.
Oh, you do?
I do. It's Prey toilet paper.
Wow.
It's for you.
So I'm still in that mindset of not really knowing how to react because I'm thinking about what else I need to explain at this point. whether I can explain something about the satellite or the characters coming up. And I just wasn't expecting this to happen during the run. So
I mean, right,
I feel like I could have reacted better in a more proper manner, but I was just like, I don't know how to deal with this right now.
TranStar kindly reminds you to flush thoroughly, so you know.
Oh, wow. We'll remember that. Unfortunately, we don't have a basketball hoop. I couldn't bring one in.
I'll just throw it at one of these really beautiful lights. It's fine.
Right in front of where the monitor is, they have like studio lights. They have like 5 of them, which is why it's so bright right there. Just in case you're wondering what lights is she talking about. But yeah, I have the toilet paper with
So at
me
this
now.
point in the story, things kind of go a bit crazy. You don't
Hey,
know
I say crazy again.
if you can trust anyone at all. But for us, we're just going to do what we do. This is the first time we're going to be using Riley, who doesn't do a whole lot for this in the run, but she's pretty important. Once again, just trying to remember exactly what I need, and then should be good on that.
So even though I already have some supplies in there, like the neuromods, I have 7 of, which would be enough to cover everything she needs. I still buy more because I didn't find a whole lot, and I'm going to need more later on anyway, so. That's kind
Because
of
we now have the
a spot where you
option
don't have to buy that
away
stuff.
in the operator between characters, we can keep things like neuromods or control modules, which a lot of characters will end up needing. So you kind of have to figure out exactly what you need in the beginning and then subtract what you already have. Or if you want to go for something extra with a different character, you have to figure all that out on the fly as well. Luckily, this is a pretty standard amount so far.
Yeah, between 7 to 12 is typically what you'll see here.
Sometimes we're actually not going to clip out with the stool. It's crazy, I know, but
Yeah, I'm like, this, I don't even recognize this anymore. I'm so used to the other way.
so the only times we actually run through here are with Riley. Both the times we come in with her. She needs to go to the power station in the middle of the crater. There's really no good way to clip out and then get back in bounds in the middle of the map, so.
There's actually no way to clip like into the power station from out of bounds. You can clip back into the wall, but it's really, well, it's not really any faster. I guess if you had propulsion, it might be, you could maybe get by with that, but yeah, I don't know.
Coming through here actually spawns in the best character in the game, which is Moonshark.
Best character in the game, Moonshark.
So lovely.
I mean, he gives the tightest hugs.
Oh yeah.
Just the tightest.
So I believe all the power is actually up, and we got luck in that regard, but because this is a marathon run, I'm gonna go double check it anyways. Better safe than sorry. I got the time. Yep, we're all good. So just like before, we're gonna check where the tram is down, so we got Pythias.
This is also best luck there.
One again. And then this tunnel has the chance of being blocked or cleared. Fortunately for us, it's blocked, which sounds weird, I know, but it allows us to use Mimic Matter, which is one of the coolest Typhon abilities in the game.
It's true.
So I honestly did think about calling out the Typhon Hunter game mode that they released, and how it hasn't been updated at all, but I decided not to in the end. I was like, I'm not going to be petty right now.
You can be
Hey.
anything.
It can be anything. Maybe that stool.
Hey, now you can use yourself to clip.
Only it worked that way.
How helpful is that?
So the reason it's worthwhile to just go ahead and come to Pythias when the tram's down is because we have to repair the tram anyways, because once we go up and do what we need to in her office, we'll have to go find a body, which you can either spawn in Koreanix or Moonworks. And because you're not sure which one it is, you need to have the tram up regardless. It's also going to help out for future characters. So once again, just kind of setting up things in the future. So if you have a donation to read, this would be a good time.
All right.
Yeah, at this point, I start kind of calling for donations because the first half of the run is explaining a lot of the mechanics of how exactly things work. And then later on, it just becomes about commentating what objective we're going for instead of how we get those mechanics to work for that objective. So there's a lot of downtime between running from this point to that point. There's not a whole lot of glitches or tricks in Mooncrash. So there's not a whole lot you can talk about once you get to the end of the game besides, oh, we're going to go do the story. You can talk about the story, but to be honest, I don't really know the inner plot points anymore. I've kind of forgotten them, so I couldn't talk much about that. So I was just like, I'm just going to start calling for donations when I have to run from point A to point B.
Anonymous donated a teeny weeny $1,600.
What?
Their comment was just that this donation goes to unlock Cuphead Run. Thank you, Anonymous. It's so
Thanks,
great.
Anonymous.
Well, there we go. So there are stairs to get up here, but for the most part, they're typically broken or there's a typhon on it, so I just prefer to go up the side. A lot of things going on here. So some of those things are hard spawns, like the neuromods on our desk, which are nice to count on, but they're not always there.
I say they're hard spawned, and then immediately following that, I say they're not always there. The neuromods are hard spawns. They are always there. The thing like the chipset on the table aren't always there. And what you get inside the briefcase is randomized. So the neuromods are always there. You can count on those.
This one freaks me out.
So at this point, this is why we need to scan the Weaver back on Andreas. It's run by Phantom Genesis 2, and then...
Also, when she said it freaks her out, she meant the actual escape, which we haven't gotten to yet. I don't know if she just thought we were already at that point or escape or whatever, but we hadn't quite gotten that far into the character.
Make our way to the tram.
Which is kind of why I
So we
kept
have
going with
Korean
the commentary
expertise.
and
A lot
brought
of
it
this
up
we
later.
deal with in Moonworks. A lot of the practice runs I did before.
Which
I
is
came to
completely
Moonworks.
fine.
I got Moonworks everything. And Moonworks has some good spawns, but it also has two of the worst. And they're just really annoying to do, so it's nice not to have to do them.
Yeah, the Phantom 2 scan and the toy scan, or the toy spawn later on. Yeah, you ideally want to see Korean X or
But
both.
then I realized how hard they hit, how easy it is to die. So
Okay, fair.
I don't feel too bad anymore.
I just
Operators
wanted
suck.
to be nice and do things for you, and now they hate you. It's terrible.
Luckily, the operator we have is not corrupted. He's pretty nice.
No, he's your friend.
Biohazards detected.
He lets you play dress up with him.
Unfortunately, the mimic that you get doesn't really come in handy in any way. It's fun to dress up, some hats for him.
I like having a pet that I get to say is a mimic.
I also thought about throwing Typhon Hunter under the bus here, because that's one of the only things you can really do in Typhon Hunter is give your mimic a hat. But once again, I was like, I'm going to hold off on it. This is not the place to do it.
So he's over in the gym. We're going to stand very far away from this body as we scan it. Just because I don't want to take the extra damage. So now we get to go back to Riley's office and start uploading her brain data, which is a little scary. So let's move on to
I
bed.
don't. It makes me so uncomfortable. Which I mean is good. I like stories that like mess me up, but it messes me up.
Yeah, it's very weird to think about this from a practical standpoint of actually going inside the minds of these 5 characters and figuring out exactly what happened on the moon base. But, you know, we'll get there one day, I'm sure.
Most of it's upsetting.
Black Mirror's taught me anything. We're in for a bad time.
And an interesting time.
So because we scanned that body, there's going to be a phantom. Oh, we'll take the stairs this time. Looks pretty clear. There's going to be a phantom spawned up here. I actually need to make sure I use this. So that purple thing I used is a delay loop, which I found, which is going to slow down the corruption.
Extremely useful.
They are extremely useful casually. For the run, it really doesn't matter. It does keep us in Corruption 1 a little bit longer, so we don't have to deal with enemies respawning. But unless you find a whole bunch and can keep it into Corruption 1 by the time you get to Claire later on, we still have to go through all of VJ. It'll affect our hacking. You can hack a little faster in Corruption 1 than you can in 2. But besides that, it doesn't really matter in the slightest.
Just make sure everything's clear because we've got to wait here for a little bit and then get inside this chair.
Before you launch that operator,
So I'm thinking we're just going to store some stuff away.
you have the emulation tech Morgan was tinkering
Hey,
with.
buddy.
Use it.
Super.
Copy yourself.
We actually have a bunch of stuff this time around. It's really nice.
I know it seems morbid, but we can't shrink from the reality that
So there's one thing I don't know if you noticed on Mooncrash Mondays,
Yes.
but if you happen to look at the floor and at these dots, they're not quite in straight lines.
Why would you tell me that? Oh no.
Yeah, so this is what I tend to do when stuck in places for a long time over and over. So I notice little things about floor patterns that are slightly off. And
Yeah.
Horrible. It's rude.
Almost every game I run where I have to be in an area that I can't leave for a long enough time, I will find some texture that doesn't line up or some door pattern that's like slightly at an angle. It gets really annoying.
never be able to unsee it.
Also, a small thing is the chair isn't lined up straight either. It's like tilted to the side. I didn't feel like pointing that out.
This company.
I know it makes it sadder because he's like singing as this is happening to you.
Maneuver 465, data vault class operator.
Do-do-do, do-do.
Capture and transfer complete.
Yeah, if you look at this, it's like the right arm's further than the left, and even this part down here is kind of tilted.
Additional instructions found. Starting procedure. Erase you. Back.
Grand scheme of things, it doesn't
Even
matter.
in the future,
It's
they
just-
use batch files. And off we go.
The Bioshock doorknobs are just very low
So
effort
Riley's
modeling.
escape method, so that's going to unlock her story.
Preferred.
Well, that's what the game calls it.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
All right, so we're going to bring in VJ this time, and he actually doesn't need pretty much anything. We're going to buy him propulsion gen, which once again just makes him go faster. At this point, VJ's pretty much done. All you have to do is come in, clean up his story, and then we're actually going to take the shuttle out because we used Joan to use the mass driver escape. We kind of flip-flop them here. Because her story ends in Moonwork, so it makes sense to go ahead and do mass driver there. And his story ends in Koreanix, right next to the shuttle. And we have both their stories unlocked at this point. It doesn't really matter. So back to the stool we go.
That's also funny. That's a funny sentence.
Back to the stool we go. A lot of times she'd say, you know, that sounds funny out of context, but I had already forgotten what I had said. So it's like, is it weird out of context? So now looking back, it's like, I guess that is. I didn't catch that one during my run.
So because we repaired the tram with Riley before, it's not going to be down. Double check that before I'm wrong. Okay. So we're just going to come straight over to Koreanix where his memory marker starts. If you have a donation, you can read it one now.
Okay, you're gonna like this, I think. Clinks donated $25, said, "Good morning, GDQ. So stoked to see BloodThunder run Prey Mooncrash, one of the best games of the year. #ad." Okay, so
Yay, Clink!
Couch, did you pay off Clinks or?
I did.
So, Clinks or Matt Klinkskills is another member of the Mooncrash Monday stream that happens. He is the brand manager at Arcane, I believe his title. He might be senior brand manager. It's one of the two. Sorry if I messed that up. Who is also invited to be on Couch, but something came up where he couldn't quite come out to the event. So, in a different universe, different timeline, he could have been there as well. But as to why #ad was in there is because
Didn't. Clink wishes he was here right now, and I also wish Clink was here right now.
Yeah, shout out to Clink and everyone that was on the Mooncrash Mondays team that couldn't be here.
That was a lot of people. We ended up having a lot of hosts.
Yeah, a pretty good variety. Some
did.
some with beards, some without.
Beard Stream. We rely very heavily on one half of Beard Stream to help us with finishing up Mooncrash.
So anytime you see those pink brains, I think I tried to explain it before, but then I explained something else, which usually happens in this.
it'd be fun if she was looking in the stream.
run. Those pink
Would it be
brains
funny
are
or
the
just be
memory marker,
cool?
Which is the start of the story. Kind of put you into an animation.
Officer Bhatia.
I think I tried to explain the memory marker thing with Joan earlier. Like I started to talk about it. I've already forgotten. And it's something I wanted to bring up, just like what a memory marker was, and then I finally got to here.
Your men are being slaughtered. Where are you? It's not the Typhon. It's Claire Whitten.
Some good music.
She's a Casma spy. She's been here long.
Unfortunately, you don't really get to hear the music in this game that much, besides like the ambient track in the background.
Let her get off the base. Do you understand?
A lot of good tunes if you just want to chill in that area.
Distracted by this right now.
I have a lot of love in my heart for Prey music.
I'm counting on you.
Okay. So let's go to Wayne Ram. If I was going at it.
When I
I also don't really like during my GDQ runs to ask for a whole bunch of donations back to back. I don't know why. I think it's kind of weird. So it's like I didn't know exactly what to talk about here because there's not much, but I didn't want to necessarily ask for a donation right away. Just a little thing.
first started, I listened to
Why
Semi-Sacred
not?
Geometry like on repeat to like really get me in the headspace. But then I just ended up completely obsessed with the song and would listen to it on repeat in my home.
I get it. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to it on repeat, but I probably should have.
You should have. It fixes your brain. Anything that could possibly be wrong fixes all of it.
Okay.
It's real nice.
I mean, that's probably what they should have learned at the moon bases.
Just keep playing it.
This is so, it's like some stuttering effect. I don't know. I've never seen this happen before. When you load into an area, a lot of times you are a little slowed down and it's a little glitchy. I've never seen a stuttering effect where it kind of pulls you backwards. Luckily this cleared up. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. Like even up to this point, it was kind of acting up.
This game has a little trouble when you first start in an area. It takes a second to boot up, so if you try to go fast, you may experience some difficulties. So this is Claire's hideout.
Also, I didn't point this out in Moonworks, but some of the things like this fabrication plan on the table, I just couldn't physically pick them up on these PCs. Like, you'll see I try to pick this up, but there's no marker that pops up saying, you know, interact with this in any way. And it was the same in Moonworks as well.
Trapped.
Like, you have to get real close to it. It's
Which,
you normally never have to
away
get that
from
close
you
to it.
actually Get caught in it, which is really nice. You can avoid the whole poison quest line. And she also locks the door to this hideout. But if you've seen this,
You get the whole stuttering effect, Creeper.
run up to this
That's
point,
weird.
you may have an idea of what I'm trying to do. Maybe.
Maybe.
I get very low FPS when I enter an area, but I don't get the stuttering.
So the door will unlock at some point.
Did I get this
once
trick?
you're done with their dialogue.
I don't remember.
There
Okay.
we go. If we want to get out just a little bit faster, get up here.
And also to avoid all of the really mean taunts she's saying to you.
Yeah, she's not a nice person.
No, not consistently.
So we actually do need to stay in this area until the quest updates, which is that there. So a little slow, but ultimately it doesn't really matter.
Ideally, you get to the tram before that pops up
Now
and
we're
you
gonna
sit
go
there
back to
waiting.
Koreanx, because we didn't get poisoned, we don't have to deal with that half of the story, which is nice. Because I don't even remember where that takes you at this point.
I think even if you get poisoned, you don't really need to go and deal with it.
Whether we want to blow it up or
We're going to be fast enough to outrun it.
We're actually
think.
going to disable the explosion because enabling it means you have to hit an extra OK box. So that's what determines whether Claire makes it off or not. Either way, you still unlock her character. It just go a little bit faster. Okay.
VJ?
So that's pretty much VJ's story. And since we're right next to the shuttle, like I said before, we're just going to take it.
Looking around like a good little boy to mop up the mess.
She does call us a good little boy, which is nice.
And she very much meant it.
Like sheep. Good boy. You made the right
Just got a whole bunch of stuff there. All right. So once again, just going to drop off some more.
You managed to get off the moon alive?
Yeah, at this point, that was an insane amount of neuromods to find on the shuttle. Like, 7 is
Hey, we
crazy.
take the shuttle for a third time.
Oh, your mimic or your operator outside was so sad. Where are you going?
Yeah, sometimes when you're in this or like the mass driver and the door is closed, you can still hear the operator singing outside, which is kind of sad, but you know, he'll be fine.
I hadn't yet experienced that.
So this
At
is,
this point,
I may talk about, but like this is pretty much when all of the hard stuff or things you really have to think about are out of the way. The rest is just kind of cleaning up the 5-man escape and then the 3 story objectives that you have to do after that. So this is effectively when a lot of the pressure's off and you just have to
we're going back to the
Play
satellite to get
decently
some
well.
more story. There's not a whole lot to really do here, so if you have another donation, you can go ahead and read.
Okay, we received a $15 donation from Melfice1, who said, "Shoutouts to my bestest buddy Felix, who's watching this run with me via Discord. Let's pray the run doesn't moon crash and burn. But before we go, tell us one thing about the game we don't know yet."
I didn't get that moon pun. Let me listen to it again.
Moon crash and burn. Discord. Let's pray the run doesn't moon crash and burn. But before we go,
Yeah, I don't get the moon
tell
part of
us
that.
one thing about the game we don't know yet.
I think he meant to emphasize the crash part,
Are great. But we already knew that.
There you go, Melfice1.
but he emphasized the moon part.
That was a fantastic comment.
But if you help me,
Nailed it.
finish what the company is asking you
So you just mess around while they talk a little bit. Just chill up here.
They've got a lot to say.
But if you don't trust me,
It's actually a really interesting story. It's just once you've gotten to the point where
Yeah, but when you emphasize the crash part, moon crash and burn,
Hundreds.
right?
I don't know if I'm quite at hundreds, but I'm
You actually might
pretty
be.
close.
I would not. That was not me doubting you. That was me like, yeah, probably.
I actually don't think I'm in the hundreds. I'd probably say upper 50 to 75. Well, maybe that might be completed runs. Attempts may get up there, but I don't think I've cracked 100 attempts realistically yet.
Okay. There's kind of a delay after they stop talking and when you can actually get back into the simulation, but it is what it is. Also, I love these intros and loading screens.
So if you guys have ever been here at the start of my streams or at the very end, you may recognize that I use those for my actual stream. I've taken the video files out because I think they're really cool and a great way to transition between one scene to the next. So I do actually really like these screens.
So now we're gonna play as Claire, who needs just a couple things. I'm pretty sure I've got most of this stuff already in there. Just double checking.
Like if you couldn't already guess that she's evil, look at her lighting.
She may be evil, but she spawns as one of the coolest weapons, which is the psychostatic cutter. And it's just awesome.
She is super fun to play. The evil ones kind of tend to be.
So much like VJ, she actually does have the ability to get mobility. And you can buy mobility too, which we're pretty much going to do. She runs insanely fast, which is really, really nice. It's one of those things you forget how fast it is until you start playing as a character that doesn't have it. So we also bought hacking too, because once you get to corruption 2,
I think I explained this like in a really backwards way, where I just end up saying the word "to" a lot.
you need hacking 2 at this point. That's the way the corruption works is whatever the corruption level is at, that's what you need to repair doors or to hack into something. So 2 and 2, 3 and 3, that kind of stuff. And hey, back here.
I don't know how I'm like surprised every time you do that, but every time I'm a little bit like, oh right, that's what you're doing.
Okay.
Oh hey.
So it's actually not too bad of a slide. Typically, if you clip in, it's not ideal because you're much slower running than you are sliding. You also have to EMP this gate to get into Pythe slabs. But Claire is one of the few exceptions where it's not really a big deal at all. So we're just gonna drop one of these control modules we have.
Yeah, if you have mobility 2 or you've been lucky enough to get propulsion and the propulsion chipset, those are both faster than sliding for the most part, or they're about equal. So if you have to run, you want to use those situations. Otherwise, sliding the Pythes is much, much faster.
Pull it up, and away we go. So all we're doing with Claire is coming in to hack into the portal for Andreas, which is the 5th and final character we're going to bring in after this. It's also the thing we repaired with Joan earlier on. And once we do that, we're going to head to the escape pod, which will unlock your story. And then from there, it's just basically cleaning up the rest of the stories.
Yep.
How did this? We took 9 months, BloodThunder. 9 months.
It was 9 months?
Give or take, I guess. A little under.
It was only about 6 months, I believe. The DLC didn't come out until June. At E3 is when this game came out, or this DLC rather. I don't think the Mooncrash Monday started until quite a bit after that, if I'm not mistaken. So makes it sound a little bit worse than it was. Giving them more credit, they did it in less time than that.
Nice little hacking puzzle. It was actually really nice. All right. So we've done that. Now, if I believe I'm right in remembering, our escape pod is over in Moonworks. Which, since we got a cutscene, the tram could have gone down, and it didn't, which is nice. Otherwise, we'd just run through the crater over to Moonworks, but taking the tram's a little bit faster.
Yeah, I don't know why the tram didn't go down here. That's really strange.
I think Shape in the Glass calculated it took about 22 game hours.
22. I mean, that's not too bad.
22 game hours at an hour and a half each. Is what? 14 weeks? It's a little over 3 months. Oop, went full screen. Shit.
I don't believe you at all. I appreciate your kindness.
I was actually being sincere here. Like 22 hours for this when you're playing an hour and a half every week, and you're having different people come in and take over, and they have to figure out where exactly they are, what they're doing, what you've set up beforehand, and how to set up next week. It's like, I'm actually surprised they did it in just 22 game hours. So I think I say here it takes me about, like, casually took me about 15 hours to do, playing straight through from stop to finish.
Playthrough of this took me about 15 hours to do.
That's like, you know, somewhat, that's reasonable. That's like around the time it should take. But you also had never played it before, and we had played it several times.
Well, the thing I love about this, and coming into it as a speedrunner who's done many games before, is you have to do a lot of routing to figure out which characters to bring in when, and how they all fit together in certain pieces. And that's what I love about speedrunning anyways, is taking a game and figuring out exactly what you need to do in it. So it was just that ideal situation for me where
That's awesome.
I just couldn't put it down once I picked it up.
Well, that's a very high compliment. Yeah, it took us a while, but the nice thing was that it gave us a lot of opportunities to just like hang out with people who would come see us every single week, and hang out with fans who were just like, we kind of just want to hang out with you. I was like, good, I also just want to hang out with you. So that was extremely positive.
Yeah, the whole Prey community, the people on Reddit,
Yeah.
people in the Discord, the speedrunning Discord, pretty much anyone in any of those places are just great.
Just unbelievably lovely human beings. I'm very lucky I get to be the community manager.
It's also kind of, at least in the games that I've run, like the speedrunning Discords, or, you know, the places where fans of the game go to hang out, whether it's Reddit or their own Discords, are generally really, really nice people that if you just go in and talk to them, like, hey, this game's cool, let's talk about it, you know, they're completely open to that, and Prey's no different.
So that's Claire's preferred escape. Just get on an escape pod and leaving. It's pretty nice.
Cushy.
And now for one of the faster characters we're going to get through. So the things I'm bringing in with him are simply, in case what happens last time with Claire happens again, where he slides into the actual base, back in bounds.
Prey's been the most welcoming. It definitely helps that there's people like Abigail and Clink in the whole Mooncrash Monday stream that do a great job of reaching out to the community in different capacities. Not a lot of devs, like, you know, if something pops up like, oh, this is cool cosplay or fan art, you know, they might retweet it or like it on Twitter. Well, there's not so many that will go out and like foster community and constantly talk to people, doing their TransStar Employee of the Month thing and like rewarding people for being big fans. So that definitely helps, besides just the people within the communities, for sure.
Otherwise, we're just going to clip out with the stool again, slide over the Pythes again, run through the escape pod again, or the Mimic portal, and escape. And this will complete the 5-man escape.
That's awesome.
Pretty close to being done with the bulk of the orders. There's still a few we have to deal with.
I was about to,
Unfortunately, the speed.
I think I was trying to say we're about done with the game, but we still have a pretty good chunk of time left, especially because I messed things up. So I was like, and we're almost done with the bulk of the orders, which is the more accurate statement. But I still, at this point, I don't know what I'm going to say until I start saying it.
Community for this game is not too big. There are a handful of runners. But if you're looking to get into it, definitely hop in the Discord. Feel free to ask questions. I mentioned I do have notes, and I have them written up in a text file and hosted online for anybody that is looking to run it. I did have a tutorial at one point, but that was several months ago when the route was a little different. So I'll probably have to make a new one sometime soon.
Which we'll be doing
You were also
right after
so
this.
helpful
So
that we would run into some issues. We're like, have you considered this? Oh, no. Oops.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I was actually really worried about Moonshark there. I don't think I bring it up in the run at all, but I could hear that the Moonshark was right behind me, and because Andrews doesn't have propulsion and he doesn't have mobility, Moonshark can catch up to you pretty quickly and hemorrhage you if it hits you with rocks, and I just really, really didn't want that to happen. Even if it did, it's such a quick escape. It's not too big of a deal, but that's why I kind of ducked in there for a second. It's the buy time.
A lot of little things you can kind of pick up, like control modules being used as EMP is a pretty big one that a lot of people don't know about.
Yep.
And just having a source of EMP in the run is such a huge advantage. Otherwise, you have to find like a disruptor stun gun or just kill all the Typhon, which can take a long time, especially if you get up to like Corruption 4, Corruption 5. And it can just be a real mess.
Everything starts to disintegrate.
So now we're in Pythias. All we have to do, like I said, is run to the Mimic portal, open it up, and go out and escape. So if you have a donation you want to read.
Okay, why not $50 from an Arcane dev who says, we're all watching you from our desk here in Austin. Wish we were there. Go, go, AGDQ.
Yay! Thank you so much, wonderful Arcane.
I have another $50 here from the engineer you left outside who says, what are you doing, Dave? Are you leaving me here in space alone?
Unfortunately, we are.
And just one more, $500 from LFQ soon. Thank you so much. Their comments just toilet paper percent speedrun.
That's true. That's awesome. Thank you.
I don't know if I actually say it, but I wanted to like say something about the like when the Arcane devs donate it, just like kind of give them a shout out, recognize how great their game was. But then he read the other donations, and I kind of lost track of the fact that they had just donated, which is kind of sad.
So we go back. This is one of the last cutscenes.
It is what it is.
There is another cutscene you can, but we kind of route the orders to be done in a certain way at this point to avoid that. Because if you have just one Chasma order left, it'll throw you back here and say, hey, you're doing a good job, but you have one thing left to do. But if you have two things left, you don't get that. And then if you complete both in that last run, you can skip over it. Here we're going to repair
So once again, I say we're not going to get something, and then it ends up coming true.
Oxygen. This is something that a lot of people, at least
I explained this horribly.
don't know exist. At the end of the game, the oxygen kind of goes crazy, and you're supposed to pick up this helmet, which you're
crazy
charging
again?
up. And since I never do that, people just don't know it exists. And I actually showed it off like right before I left here, because I saw it on the Mooncrash Monday streams. Because, like I said, I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It kind of blew my mind. So
Yeah, shout out to Chris Martinez, who's our QA lead for Mooncrash, who took care of the 5-man run right before the holidays. It was...
To reiterate, at the end of the game, oxygen goes out the window, and you're supposed to put on the helmet, which you've restored it with oxygen in it, and that's how you get up to where you put in the key so that you can actually do the crash landing. I never realized that was a thing. I thought you either had to jump up there doing the speedrun trick, or you just had to make sure you did what you needed to on the terminal before your oxygen ran out. And then on the last Mooncrash Monday stream, they actually used the helmet, which is the intended way, and then it was so crazy I showed it off on stream, and apparently a lot of people didn't know that was the thing you're supposed to do in the game.
Beautiful.
It's a better way to explain it.
it's one of those things watching, it's like doing the 5-man, it's when you get to that 5th character and the corruption's up and you're low on supplies, it's just so tense and so much fun to watch.
It was a very tense time. I think we did it in under, I think about an hour and a half, I think. Maybe just under 2 hours.
See, that's not too bad.
Yeah, that was fine. I mean, I had to have the QA lead do it, but he did it perfectly.
Yeah, I know a lot of runners kind of have poked fun at QA for missing certain things. But a lot of this stuff, like flipping with the stool, is we're purposely going out of our way to break this game. And it's not stuff that QA is looking for. And they overall do a great job of making sure the game's playable, which is nice. It's not crashing constantly or anything like that. So
a little backstory about this and why I wanted to make sure I said this during my run at some point. And it just worked out. She was talking about the QA lead, Chris Martinez. So, shout outs to him as well, being on Mooncrash Mondays a lot. Every time a GDQ comes up, runners tend to kind of bash QA for missing something, or they'll say a game's broken, or it's like things go crazy in the code and it doesn't happen. And kind of just bash the entire industry. During this GDQ, I kind of saw some people I follow on Twitter, some like indie devs and stuff, saying, you know, it kind of sucks that speedrunners will say this stuff during it because it's not entirely true. So I want to give a shout out for this. And actually, after my run, or I guess during it, a lot of people who worked on this game or other games in terms of QA or independent projects were tweeting out like, you know, thanks for shouting out, which is really cool to see, because a lot of times QA either isn't looking for this stuff or they actually find it. It's just not worthwhile to fix because most people won't experience these bugs or glitches or whatever because you have to go looking for them a lot of times. So, you know, people will be like, oh, you know, this game's so broken and why didn't QA catch this? It's like, they might have, it just, there's no reason to go ahead and fix it. It's better just to spend time fixing bugs that actually crash the game for normal play. So I'm glad I got to say this, and I'm glad people
hardcore
in the industry appreciated that as well.
So we're actually not going to use the stool. Once again, we're Riley, so we're just going to run to the power station, make sure the power's on, and then we're going to check where the tram is down once again. So down in Moonworks, that's really good. We're not going to repair the tram with this character, but it will play a pretty crucial part for Claire when we come back in the second time. Because at this point, there's two routes that Claire can potentially go. There's her normal way of doing her story, and then there's kind of a reverse way. And the reverse way is really obnoxious to do, so luckily we didn't get that. There's Moonshark again.
Why don't you give it a hug?
If this doesn't kill him, I was actually planning on it. So
Okay, good. Excellent.
Unfortunately, this has a tendency to kill the Moonshark.
You try not to kill the Moonshark.
I try to give it a warning, but it never listens.
It's a brat.
It just wants the hug. That's all it knows.
It's all it's ever known in its Moonshark life.
I'm kind of hoping for a Moonshark DLC. I don't know if that's that you can talk about.
I could laugh about it. Take that as you will.
That means there's a Moonshark DLC in the works, by the way. Confirmed.
So once again, this is our memory marker. Luckily, it just happens to be at the power station, so we don't have to go too far. And then to complete the memory marker, all we have to do is activate one of these EMP beacons. We're just gonna do that.
You're new, aren't you?
So these beacons, and why it has a potential to kill Moonshark, is it'll just kill any Typhon in the area. So if the Moonshark happens to be wandering through that section of the crater at that time, it'll kill the Moonshark, and you can't go and die by it. Normally, because we do the Moonshark hug here in a second, you would just go into Moonworks itself and die, so that Claire can spawn in there, which is significantly faster than what I end up doing here.
Of course you are.
So let's see.
Your shuttle arrived on December 3rd.
So once this goes off, it kind of kills all the Typhon in the area.
I didn't realize I explained it.
Moonshark didn't. Okay. Where is he?
None of which
Yeah.
entitles you to address me in such a familiar way.
So Moonshark was actually really far away for this, which is kind of surprising.
Or Dr.
show up?
You. Choose one.
Yes,
So I joke a lot when I watch Mooncrash Mondays that they never hug the Moonshark. So it's a little payback. Give him a nice hug.
Thanks. I needed to see the sharing of love and affection between human and Moonshark.
Yeah, we just got hugged to death, which may seem odd that I died there, but we actually don't need to do any escapes at this point because we just did the 5-man, and every character before this has already escaped at least once. And if you die in a certain area, you'll respawn there. So if you die in Moonworks, the next character you bring in will spawn in Moonworks, which is typically how we handle Claire. But because I like hugging the Moonshark, and it's a marathon run to show it off, we'll just run back through the crater real quick.
Some of my favorite dialogue was Riley correcting Benson, be like, "Excuse me, I am Dr. You." And I was like, "Yes, you are."
That's usually the moment people either love her or hate her.
Oh, so much love. Immediate, unrelenting love.
Yeah, that transcribe in particular, where she corrects the guy on how to like talk to her, either you end up thinking she's a complete bitch, or you think she's great for standing up for herself. Those are kind of the two options that you get out of that.
So once again, I'm just going to EMP past the gate, run into Moonworks, and get to her memory marker. Luckily, she has mobility too, so she runs really, really fast. But I don't have propulsion, so if I get a little crazy, I might break my legs, which hopefully doesn't happen.
If you go crazy, you might break your legs.
Also, I said crazy again.
If any kids are out there are watching, that's a life lesson for you.
Don't go crazy, you might break your legs. It'll sound like aliens eating chips.
Well, that might encourage them if you tell them that part.
Oh no! I forget how children work.
So, like, running through this area, it's very easy to take the fall damage necessary to break your legs, especially if you have mobility too and you're just jumping around. Generally, if you have propulsion, that will slow you down enough where it's fine. This is the YouTube VOD, so I don't have the chat up. I'll probably go and look at that tonight. I probably should have watched the Twitch VOD for this, to be honest, to see the spam. But
so we're going back over to Claire's hideout, which makes
YouTube unfortunately doesn't have that.
And get a nice little animation to start this off.
Yeah, that doesn't happen until Andreas, though. And that's when I break my legs. That's when I go for the toy, I believe.
Now that he's dead, we can pick up that transponder, and then there's two listening devices that we have to go find. One is in crew annex, and the other one is in the power station, which we're in with Riley. So at this point, this is where she could just take the tram, or if needed, run back through Crater and go in that way, which is a little bit worse. But we just have to wait on this tram and then kind of run through some stuff. So if you have a donation you want to read?
So the reason the reverse route, I may mention this when I go to recycle, but the reason the reverse route is terrible is because you end up being in a spot where you have to backtrack to go recycle the 3 things you've picked up. Whereas if you do the route I'm doing now, going to crew annex and then later to the power station, the recycling is right there next to where you pick up. So it's faster in that way. What hair product do I use? I don't have it with me, but I use hair clay, modeling clay. I don't remember the product. If you want specifics, send me a message somewhere. I can
donating to support BT and a great cause. Just remember, space is cold, business is cold, and other memorable lines that can't be read aloud in public.
Yeah, there's a lot of great lines in this that when I do streams at home, I like to pretty much say every time. It never gets old. So at this point, we need to head upstairs to Alex's office, and you may have remembered me trying to jump up here with the turret earlier. Luckily, because we have mobility too, we can just make that jump flat out, which is really nice. Just gonna go ahead and hack into the safe.
I sometimes catch myself saying, "Good morning, Morgan," to people who have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, "My name's Alex." I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
It's Morgan.
I don't remember if I don't know if she remembered that my name was Alex, but it was weird that she'd used that. So for those that don't know, my name's Alex. I was like, what?
Now.
So I figured she was just using a random example. Right?
You heard what I said.
Wait, what? Confused me.
Yes, sir. That's right. You must be proud of him.
So all we have to do
Maybe we could find a
EMP out of this again. I'm actually just gonna grab this other one just in case. A little backup. I think that Mimic wanted a hug too.
Straight to it. I like that about you, VJ.
So something I didn't really talk about is the different types
What would you make
of Typhon. Some have kind of like elemental properties, some are voltaic, so they have lightning, or they're thermal, so they have fire. And voltaics are just absolutely annoying to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
They can really kick one's patootie.
If you have propulsion, you get hit with the voltaic, it'll actually shut that down so you can't escape too well. You just have to run away. And if they decide to chase you, you may end up dead pretty quickly.
Yeah, Voltaic are terrible.
Most of the others aren't too bad.
Submitting the AGDQ, more than likely. I don't know exactly what I'll submit though, quite yet.
They're okay.
I got some time before
They're great.
it happens.
Moonsharks are the best. Luckily, there's no Voltaic Moonsharks.
Oh no. That would be terrible. And beautiful.
The good thing, even if there was elemental Moonsharks, to where they could be Voltaic or Etheric or whatever, we don't really deal with Moonshark all that much in this run, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
So this is the last listening device we need, and we actually have to recycle them.
No,
So it's nice that that's right there.
am I that obvious?
So what we're gonna do now is head into Pythias, and we need to drop off something
All right, Claire. We've learned that Director
for Riley. So
planning to duplicate her personal.
we have another donation or two. You can do them now.
Okay, here is that Frenchie guy with a $20 donation. Says, "Hi, BloodThunder. I love Prey a lot due to the atmosphere building, and I had to donate during my favorite game. Shout out to Mimics."
Yeah, shout out to Mimics.
Here's a Big Sis 25 with a $50 donation. Said, "Had to donate during BloodThunder's run. You're one of my favorite runners, and glad to see Prey DLC being ran. Good luck."
Aw, that was so nice.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I think Vampiric, you said earlier, donated. It was pretty good. Okay, just want to make sure.
I can't believe I got stuck on that door. That was funny.
You're pretty good friend, long-time viewer, so it's cool.
That is extremely heartwarming.
Also, I think I mentioned this during one of my streams not too long ago, but for anyone that did donate during this run and they didn't read your comment, I have gone back since then and like read everything in the tracker during my run. So if they didn't read it out, don't worry, I have read it.
Really enjoying my time here.
It's cool. I'm glad the tracker allows you to
So
go
all the
back and
scary
do that.
noise and visuals is the corruption going up. I don't know if it happened earlier. I've kind of spaced out. But yeah, so things can like respawn at this point in areas I've killed enemies. Luckily at this point, it really doesn't matter. So we're gonna check our chasm orders one more time. Okay.
So at this point, all I'm really checking for there is to make sure my neuromods are at a spot where I can complete them, or I figure out how many I need to complete it, which is why you see me drop my neuromods
The
off.
character after this is going to be Andreas, and he's going to come in to wrap things up.
It's also where I
Before
fuck
get
up
to him, I
everything
wanna
here in a
make sure
minute.
I actually have everything I need.
They can't dedicate any assets for dust.
After Claris is where the run goes downhill.
Not broken legs.
I'm
Not this
sorry.
time.
You're on your own. Basilisk out.
So this part seems really weird with what I'm about to do, but I'm going to leave Pythias and I'm going to come right back to it. Because for her story to be considered over, you have to escape Pythias Labs. You can either go out through the tram or through the crater. But as I mentioned earlier, if you die in a certain area, you respawn as the next character in that area. And it's best if Andrew spawns in Pythias. So as soon as we leave and complete the story, we're going to head back in and kill off Claire so we can bring in Andreas.
Kill her off. Like a favorite TV show character.
Who's your favorite TV show character?
Who's my favorite TV show character? Blair Waldorf.
Okay.
That means very little to most people.
Yeah, I have, be honest, I have no idea who that is. I just went with it.
I think watching this.
So I was still thinking about
Yeah,
what I was
I don't
doing in the
regret
run
that
too
decision.
much.
How about you? Who's your favorite TV show character?
To rewind it, as soon as she starts that question, I'm like, I don't have an answer for this. And I mentioned this on the podcast as well the other day. So here my mind instantly goes to SpongeBob. It's just the first TV show character I can think of. It was like, there's no way I can actually say SpongeBob in this situation and not look like a fool.
Character.
All of them.
All of them. I had to pick one.
I didn't say you had to pick one.
Oh, okay, that's true. You didn't specify that I had to pick one.
So, because I checked my chasm orders, I know what I need to finish off here. The things we leave for last are scanning the 5 Typhons. So we scanned 2 earlier, and then we scanned an extra 1 with Riley when we need to do a quest. So we still need 2 more of those. We could do that earlier, but as I mentioned, if you just have 1 chasm order left, which could just be his story, then you get that extra cutscene. But now it's time to meet my kid. It's a little shocking because I'm kind of young, but I do have a kid, and he's so beautiful.
What's that?
Yeah.
Look at the hair. It's lovely. Oh, he's so scary. He's so scary.
And if you look behind my kid, you can actually see our operator as well. Just chilling out there.
Aw, I'm full of your stuff.
So this telepath is telling us that we need to go find a toy and bring it back to the escape pod, which is our objective for this. So the toy, like before, can either spawn in Moonworks or Career Annex. If it spawns in Career Annex, that's generally a decent time. Moonworks can be hit or miss. Some are really good, some are really bad. But this, you can go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, but you can't be a bad papa. That's the one thing you're not allowed to do in this story situation.
So that memory marker also does 2 very unique things. It bumps our corruption level up to 4, regardless of where we are, which is real fun. It makes everything a little harder. And it also makes all the Typhon passive to us, so they're not gonna attack me anymore, which makes it really easy to get scans, so I've actually got that one already. Unfortunately, because it's corruption 4, the operators are very, very dangerous. I actually didn't catch where that spawned. Moonworks, okay.
I don't remember
So I
what
don't need anything.
what goes downhill
Kit
first.
or some food. Be great. There we go. Just in case I need it. One other mechanic of this game, which isn't too important until now, is whenever you die, if you happen to die, your body will turn into a phantom. This might work. So if I died immediately coming back to Pythias with Claire, I could just put a phantom right in the path and just block the way and take up a whole lot of time. So that's why I ran out to the wall before killing off that character.
I like if you happen to die.
So one thing that it really doesn't matter, but I was very careful with the words I said, not because I was afraid of getting banned from GDQ, but just the way it could have been taken. I didn't want to say I'm going to kill myself, referring to the character, and I didn't want to say I'm going, because in the game it's called aborting, like you abort the current run. I didn't want to say I'm going to abort this character either. So I try to make sure I say I kill off this character or I will die. I think I mainly say kill off this character for the most part.
You're gonna die.
Would I have preferred someone from the Prey Speedrun community to support my run? I mean, it's always cool if you can have people that also know the run to help out with commentary. But I'm so used to doing runs at GDQs where I've been the only one that either runs the game at all or is the only one at the event that has like the speedrun knowledge. Like either they've just played the game or they've seen a run of it but never actually done runs. So I'm pretty used to doing solo commentary. Having someone like her where she knows the game really well because she just works with it and did the Mooncrash Monday streams but doesn't necessarily know the speedrun, it still works out really, really well. And I don't know if someone that just knew the speedrun could have brought that same amount of energy to it. So I'm very happy with how the commentary worked out for the most part. Like I said, I think on my part, I could have explained things a little better, but I explained what I needed to and what I wanted to. sometimes in a roundabout way. And then she brought the energy and the kind of the reaction
Actually, not too bad of a spawn.
style to it.
Yeah, so these are like hazards that pop out. With corruption levels being what they are.
And although the Typhon are passive, if you start killing them, your kid gets mad because he's friends with the Typhon,
Yep.
being a Typhon himself, which is something a lot of people don't really realize at first. And they'll just start killing Typhon indiscriminately, and then that stuff happens.
Yeah, and then you're told that you're a bad papa, and then you feel like, oh God, am I a bad papa? I guess I am.
Yeah. So I could just EMP past that gate, but I just wanted to check up there for an extra med kit.
In hindsight, that was something I should have realized instantly that was going to break my legs. Also, both great reactions here of realizing instantly what had just happened. But yeah, I should have known that was not going to do well. I think usually I end up having propulsion for something like this, and I just forgot that I wasn't going to not break my legs there. So we get this fun part.
Got some broken bones.
Crunch, 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 crunch.
Ooh. Very close to dying. This could be bad.
It probably would have been better if I had just gone ahead and died here, because reloading this and not breaking my legs and then going through the end of Pythias, it would have been faster to do that than what I end up doing. Just suffering.
Remember, just pretend it's Moonshark eating some potato chips, and
Yum, 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 yum.
we'll make it through this.
We weren't kidding.
I also realized the situation I was in, and I'm glad I did, because as you'll see, I don't know if it's here a little bit later, I purposely jump to make the sound even worse and more continuous rather than just running forward where they just kind of grumble here and there. But if you keep jumping, you keep hearing that constant sound.
It's pretty bad. It's not intentional, I promise.
Liar.
Like right there, there's no reason to jump.
Unfortunately, it also slows down your character. So if you have something like mobility 2, you'll run about normal speed. And if you have normal speed, you go incredibly slow, which is very unfortunate.
The chat is just full of the Doritos chip emote.
Inaccurate.
Okay. So I'm gonna pick up some food, just in case we need it.
That's okay. You could just chew on your bones.
Yeah.
I think this is when I realized I should keep jumping. Yeah. It's definitely when I realized I should keep jumping.
All right. So pretty much all we have to do is get to the escape pod at the end of Pythias Labs and give our son his toy. Be a good papa, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully our kid becomes a doctor when he grows up.
So we can fix our legs.
Flooding and electrical damage detected.
Only 120 meters.
Also, at some point I did forget I needed to get the Typhon scans, because at this point I think I have up to 4 and I need to get the 5th one. And I also didn't install any neuromods, and I think the legs breaking is what made me forget. I mean, who knows? I just forgot. But I think I was so focused on the legs breaking and making sure I didn't die by the time I got to the escape pod that I just completely forgot I needed to do those objectives, which ends up making the run go a little bit longer.
You're just like a sack of gravel.
Usually this area is just completely filled with operators. I don't even know what happened there.
So the thing I was looking at when I said I didn't know what happened there,
This area
right up here, you just see something go flying.
completely filled
You
with
see this
operators.
operator just fall down.
I don't even know what happened there. Or tentacle nest or phantoms of some kind. So it's really nice for them not to be there.
I think it was fighting like a telepath or a technopath or something. Was the addition of the community manager a last minute thing? So I told the whole story on the podcast I do a couple days ago of how it all came together. But essentially, long story short, I had been trying to set it up for some time, but I didn't know it was going to actually come through and that shoot's going to be on couch until like literally right before the run started. There's a picture that GDQ tweeted out of me like meeting her, and my face looks very like confused or frustrated or whatever. That's just because I was in like a state of shock of like, oh wow, you're actually here. So it's like the first time I met her was 30 seconds before my run, essentially. So.
Because this floor is electrified, it's just kind of a random thing that happens. Took us a safe way over. We'll take that. If we had gotten really, really lucky, we could have gotten a skeletal repair kit, but you know, kind of liking the sound now.
I'm not liking the sound of that. Actually, I kind of do. Am I broken?
Also, even though the Typhon really don't get aggressive, the cystoid nest still will attack you, which is kind of
Okay, so setting this up, the cystoid nest, much like the tentacle nest, are aggressive against you even during this when the Typhon normally aren't, because they just don't really react, they just attack you. And when I come out of this, what happens is they've collected near me and have, at this point, essentially blown up. I've just gotten into the menu before it actually does the damage.
weird.
So coming out of this, I immediately die.
That was just... Nest still will attack.
I've been told to look at my reaction here, so I want to go back. Yeah, I instantly knew what happened. I was just like, there's not much I can do about it.
Instead of having to play the whole character over and doing the story, what I did there is I force quit the game, and it's going to take us back to the last checkpoint. So all I have to do is wait for this to load up, which luckily I disabled the intro screen, so it goes a little bit faster.
Well, the physics were phenomenal.
It's a great ragdoll.
It's so good.
So the bad news is we lost a little bit of time. The good news is we get to listen to the crunching a little bit more.
Yay!
So the way the checkpoints work in this is typically the last area you entered is where the game will checkpoint. So if you don't ever confirm that you've died or chosen a new character, you'll just spawn back where you entered an area, which for us was the tram. And this time we know it's ahead of us. It's not going to change. Be a little safer. So if you want to read some donations, now's a good time. Cover up this crunching sound.
Maybe.
We had Alex Yu chiming in with $25 saying, Morgan, it's Alex. We're getting a feed from our moon base. Must be some new kind of Typhon. No human could move like that. Here's $25 for additional testing.
I love that. You're a Typhon.
Game Quoter donated $35 and said, waking up from a late night of work to see Prey Mooncrash is what I call perfect timing. And for Abigail, hi, Mr. Tyson's class.
Hi, Mr. Tyson's class. That was the thing I used to say on a different stream because my dad would show our stream to his students in his math class.
Oh yeah? That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really not appropriate. And so usually whenever we would say like the worst thing that we would probably say on the stream, that's when we'd be like, hi.
Yeah, at this point, I've just completely forgotten about the fact that I need to install neuromods and get the last Typhon scan. I was just like, I'm so close to the run. I have broken legs. I just died once. I'm just going to rush through this and get it over with. And then I have to end up coming back.
3999 donated $100, said first time donator.
In that chest is a skeletal repair kit, which is what caused the medicine item that you need to repair your broken legs, which is why the sound no longer plays and I'm a little faster.
Mother was diagnosed.
I don't think I get a chance to say that in the run.
Pancreatic cancer a year ago today. We've been lucky and she has beaten the odds so far, but it's been a struggle. And the question is when, not if, the odds will catch up. After her diagnosis, I threw myself into Prey. It reminded me of my #1 favorite game, System Shock 2, and helped me deal with the horrible prognosis. I'm proud to donate to PCF.
Also, I wait a little bit longer there because I was like, I want to set up this thing here in a second, and I figured that donation was going to go a little bit longer than it would take to get to it. So I was like, I'm just going to wait here a couple extra seconds so that by the time he finishes donation, I can set up what I want to set up.
Early detection really is crucial. Here's $100 to keep the fight going. Thank you, Saber.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
So at this point, we are a good papa, which I know is a little mind-blowing.
That was so well timed.
Actually, didn't do the last thing I needed. Look at that.
I want to look at my face when I realized I didn't get what I needed to do out of the way. Yeah, I'm just like,
Actually, didn't do the last thing I needed. Look at that.
So at this point, I'm like, I knew I needed the neuromods. I was like, oh, I just forgot to install them. I briefly remembered that I needed the scan, but I think I ended up not buying nearly enough neuromods, although I have the sim points for them. Yeah, that's what happens.
I got so distracted by the bone crunching, I actually forgot to scan extra Typhon.
Who needs it?
Oh yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna be a little aggressive.
Some things up here I'll talk about.
Oh, can't. Here, we'll just grab a nest real quick. He wants to. We also needed to do.
So at this point, I've also realized, I think when I went into the simulation, I realized I had just not bought enough either. I was thinking I could find some along the way, which was dumb because I could have afforded them. And I'm thinking at this point, I can either go to Riley's office to pick some up, or I think that's my first thought. And then once I get up there and realize I've already taken those with Claire beforehand, I can go kill Claire and get them. But I already put those away in the operator and gotten them out with Andreas the last time and didn't use them, so they've gone to waste. And at that point, I ended up just dying to the Phantom, I believe. So what ends up happening here. So everything just comes crashing down.
So I actually still need an extra neuromod or two. Fortunately for us, I never looted at Riley's office.
Which I actually did.
Maybe I did.
You know, you have blown my mind so many times at this point, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, actually I did.
So this is when I was like, oh, I'll go kill Claire. And then I realized right away, like, this is actually not going to have it. So I just give up.
Chips are addicting, so.
But because I got the Weaver, or not the Weaver, we got the Phantom scans. Like, checked off one of the two I needed left, and we get the cutscene, which is really unfortunate.
So what about the one Chasm order cutscene I said we were going to get? Yeah, we kind of got it.
You're so close. Also,
Why not show it off?
you're I panic
So, I'll let her say this, and I'll...
hard in games, and you just
You have only
don't.
one order remaining.
It's all a facade. It's in here.
So while this is true, I also had my phone right in front of me, like right in front of my keyboard, and I knew what kind of time I was looking at. So I knew I still had about 10 minutes worth of time on my estimate before it like started going over. So that's why I wasn't necessarily freaking out, because I was like, this is an easy fix. I sit through the cutscene, I just buy some neuromods, and I'm done. So I'm not too confused or struggling to figure out what my next plan of action is. But it's still something that flustered me quite a bit in the moment.
I don't blame you. I think you're just fine.
But once it's done, your contract is fulfilled.
It's actually been a long time since I've seen this cutscene, so I didn't know how long it was.
All the story's done. All we need is an extra neuromod or two. So all we have to do is basically just buy a whole bunch of neuromods for a character and go in.
I think this time I just buy as many as I possibly can, even though I only need like 2.
That's all I wanted.
Whoever's still up, which I might have to do a new simulation for.
So at this point, it doesn't matter which character is up. 'Cause even if all of them were dead, I could just reset the simulation and pick any of them. So
Find out in just a second.
it's a very easy order to complete at this point in the game.
We'll find out so soon.
I believe Joan's still up and kicking. Load in one last time.
One last time.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just buy as many as possible.
Because why not? You have so many sim points.
I say this run is harder than running Doom. From a technical standpoint, no. Doom is a much more technical run in terms of setting up things and doing like Foundry Skip and the Rail Boost. This is a run where you have to think a lot more about what you're doing and how what you're doing now affects characters in the future. So keeping track of all that stuff mentally is much more difficult in that specific aspect. But I'd say in terms of like performing at a GDQ, Doom is a much tougher run to get through, because if your execution's bad that day, then you're just
Hopefully. I've come this far.
kind of out of luck.
So much faith. All of it is in you.
Whereas this, I've routed to be marathon safe and
There we go.
make sure I can get through things I need to, as long as I know what I'm doing.
Double check this one last time. There we go.
What?
I actually wasn't entirely sure this would
Now we're
go
gonna
through,
practice
so
that
I'm
way.
glad it
One
did.
last cutscene. Hopefully there's a jump I can get. It's a little tricky.
In my head, for some reason, I was like, even if I install these with Joan and then die, it's not going to count it. But that was just like paranoia of worst case scenario. If for some reason it didn't count,
So now
I had
all
to do
27
something
hours
else.
are done. All we have to do is kind of deal with the fact that we're not getting the job after all.
Yeah, they're jerks.
So I have to grab the key from this, which you really don't want to forget. And eventually, low gravity will kick on, or zero gravity will kick on. And, you can fly up here, or you can just jump.
Peter, we've never spoken. I'm the OC at Plasma Corp overseeing
We have to decommission this.
Catalyst reports to me.
Zoom out a little bit.
You've done brilliant work for us. Thank you.
Time's coming up here very soon.
But it's a tight, we just can't afford to pick you up.
And time.
Oh, that was 31. They robbed me of a second. I saw it. I said time a second before that.
My God. That was incredible.
Oh, mute it. Sweet. Can't hear me. Woo. But overall, I think I explained things better than I thought I did. I explained more things than I thought I did, which is usually the case for GDQ runs. By the time they're over, I've forgotten like what happened in the beginning of the run. I'm just so focused on what comes next. So watching back's always cool. Provides insight into where I can focus future runs. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Besides Andreas at the end, just forgetting to do the 2 objectives I needed to, the scans and the neuromods. Like, gameplay was good. I didn't really make any mistakes. The slides was out of my control and don't know what was going on with that. Got decent luck throughout. It wasn't terrible. Wasn't super great either. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it.